Article 132 of the Kenyan Constitution, actually 132(1) of the Constitution, mandates the head of state, that is President William Ruto, to give an annual address on the state of the nation. Well, that is going to happen today. Good morning and warm welcome. This is Great KBC, just in time for this special coverage of the State of the Nation address that we do expect the President to be having on the bicameral houses at 2:30 p.m. My name is Ben Troy Enjoy. Many thanks indeed for joining us and talking about the State of the Nation address. It is his third, and of course, among what we do expect him to talk about matters governance, accountability, and also corruption, revenue generation, something that has been on the mind of every Kenyan, the debt. We are currently at over 12 trillion Kenya shillings. The cost of living and inflation that a number of Kenya are grappling with, among others, including leadership and also politics as well. We do remember that we are having the by-elections in a number of constituencies, wards, and even senatorial seats in Baringo. That is on the 27th of November 2025. And remember, it will be the first duty of the newly sworn in and elected Electoral Boundaries and Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Thank you so much indeed for joining us, and of course you can keep up with this conversation via all our social media spaces as we are live. Just a quick one is that we are also having a team in Bunge who we're expecting to give us a feel. Remember, all the two houses will be at the National Assembly to welcome the President and also listen to his speech. We also have our Kisumu team led by Achola Simon and also our Mombasa team. Well, that said, allow me to rope in my panel of experts and allow me to begin from my immediate left, where we have Dr. Reverend Alphonse Kanga. Kanga is the NCCK Regional Chairman. Karibu sana, Doc.
Asante sana.
Good to see you.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's good to be here.
Next to me on my right, we have Engineer Jackton Achieng, who is a leadership and governance expert and also a Honorable Secretary of IEK. And it's good to see you again, Engineer. And of course, you will be telling us about the infrastructure. Where are we on infrastructure development? We are also expecting two other panelists, also expecting Dr. Haron Isakasan as well as Dr. Matunga for any time from now. Maybe to begin, Doc, there's something we were looking here. I know, and I hope and I pray that the head of state touches on this. That we were looking at the statistics in suicide. And unfortunately, it's the young people who are grappling with this a lot. 25, 30, 50 people in a weekend. I would like you to just touch on that.
Yes, thank you for welcoming us today. It's a great day as we expect the head of state to give to address the nation today. And there are a number of things happening. For example, today, if we begin and say, what is the state of the nation?
Yeah.
You cannot talk about the state of the nation until you remember what has the nation been formed. Our nation, our Constitution 2010, Article 10(2), is very clear that our nation is founded on justice. And if our nation is founded on justice, there are very key issues that we must think about critically. You cannot have justice without patriotism, no justice without unity, no justice without devolution power, the rule of law, inclusiveness, not only that, integrity, transparent, accountability, all those things in our constitution, in that article 10(2), if you look at all that, it tells you where are we. So if we ask ourselves, when we talk about the state of the nation, the state of the nation is the state of the people. The state of the nation is the state of our economy. The state of the nation is the state of our mindset. Is the state of, do we have food or we don't have food today? Is Wanjiko satisfied? Then, as a clergyman, if asked what the state of the nation, I'll ask Wanjiko, what do you think? Now, from my perspective, from the National Council of Churches of Kenya, recently, we did a quick survey in our meeting of Nairobi and Kiambu 2 days ago. And surprisingly, when we asked them, what's the state of the nation? What do you think about where we are today? Surprisingly, 85% of Kenyans are unhappy and depressed. 78%, they think the performance, where they are, it's because of the performance of the government. Now, not only that, 83%, they think we have a problem in all corners of the country and we need to find a solution.
Yes.
Now, so when we talk of that, then you can see a depressed country, unhappy country, and out of that you can now ask, how comes 23 to 30 people, bodies, they are taken to the mortuary, according to the statistics, every weekend because of suicidal cases. About 30,000 are taken, they die. Annually, because of what? Because of this suicide. Yes. Then that tells you we are in a situation where we are in a happy country, frustrated, depressed. But again, as the engineer said, we need to find out who are these. Majority of these people are between 35 and below. So that means as economic, as the political class, as the religious class, as the academic class, we need to come up with a solution, find out where are we? We are in a situation where we are not happy. And what's the way forward? Some of the things that we need to think critically, as he addressed the state today,
yes.
We have 13 constitutional commissions. How are they performing? How are they performing in different areas?
Yes.
Some of them, the youth feel depressed because they have been overtaken by events, and not only that, they are manipulated, dominated, and they don't offer what we expect them to offer.
Yeah.
And we are spending a lot on those commissions. So we need to ask ourselves, where are we? What's the state of the nation today? Who has contributed to where we are? Who has brought us to this particular area? We have 13 independent commissions established in 2010 constitutions. Judiciary, Parliament, they are part of those commissions. How are they performing? If we talk of stability, integrity, the value system, those independent institutions with an eye in it, independent. If they are independent, then Kenyans will be feeling comfortable. Kenyans will be feeling we are at home. This is our country. So, where do we point our fingers? Independent commissions. Are they? The police are
yes, and of course we'll be looking at the independence of these commissions, because we have seen an issue where we have independent. Actually, look at IBC.
Yes.
Over the years, it has been independent electoral and boundaries commission, but we have seen a lot of influence from outside as well. But let's pick engineer's mind in regards to the state of the nation addressed today by the head of state amidst the myriads of challenges in the country.
Thank you very much, Troy, for this opportunity to come and talk to the nation. Picking up from where Dr. has mentioned, is that a nation is judged by the perception of the citizens. And based on the numbers that you are seeing, suicidals that we are seeing happening, you realize that basically it is all about frustration, depression, and lack of hope in terms of the future. And this can be able to be contributed by so many factors in this nation. Like an employment case, you hear as almost 80% of the suicidal cases are youths. What is the trigger here? The trigger could be just that they are unemployed. They've gone to school, because education system that we are having currently produces so many graduates. But they don't have a place to go, even something that they can be able to do. So they get frustrated, and because of this aspect of staying idle and having nothing to do. So sometimes they end up getting into a situation where there is no hope for the future. And therefore, it's very unfortunate that we can, as a nation, we can have 30,000 actually, losing 30,000 persons in this era, when we are supposed actually to deal with some of these issues. And this tells you again that as a nation, we need to again to start working on the issue of mental health, because that one now comes in and plays a major role. How are we resilient what is the level of resilience to withstand the challenges that we're experiencing. A country will not always be perfect, but when these imperfections comes in, how can we be able to withstand and have a people who can be able to move forward and contribute towards the development of the nation? And that goes to the health sector, where we have the mental health, and we also have the government putting in place frameworks that can be able to create opportunities for the young people and for the all the cadres that we are having, gender related and also age related. Yes.
Yeah, and Doc, I'm looking at the clergy and more specifically NCCK. You've come out strongly to point out and to call out the government on a number of issues. Let me just point some of them. You have talked about abductions, you've talked about police excesses, you've talked about graft. Do you believe the government is listening? And for today's State of the Nation address, what would you want to see the president address in regards to the concerns that have been raised by the clergy?
Number one, we will expect him to identify issues that we have failed and point them out and say, in this area we have a problem and this area we have a problem. And then, of course, we don't expect him to do something immediately, but we expect him to give us a direction, a way forward, a vision, a way forward. What are we going to do with these issues in the police department? Of course, between now and the time he's addressed, between the time he addressed the parliament and today, there has been a number of issues. There has been people who have died in police cells. All those things have been there. From there has been a lot of, and we don't take this issue of 30 people reported committing suicide daily. It means there's a problem. And these problems are emanating from the system, from the governance. Because if governance does not provide hope, or if you provide hope, they think that hope is hopeless, then we are not able to move far. So he must be able to provide hope. The head of social provide hope for today, and then tell us exactly what are you going to do to solve this crisis. For example, as I've talked about, the country gave herself Constitution 2010. In Constitution 2010, we have 13 commissions. These commissions have been charged with responsibility to take care of us from different dimensions. For example, if the judiciary are captured, then the Kenyan youth becomes hopeless. If the police have no independence, the Kenyan community becomes hopeless. All those commissions, all those groups, if the IEBC that's in place right now, if they are not going to play independent, if the independent eye in that commission is not going to be seen to be done, then the Kenyans will be so frustrated. And this frustration goes around from this side. And then the value system. We have a value system that is, again, as I said, it's in our constitution. Chapter 6 of the constitution frustrates Kenyans. Kenyans are not the Kenyans that were there in the early 80s. They are the Kenyans who are informed. They know what chapter 6 is all about. Now, if there are a number of things that are happening and Kenyans are questioning, surely, I'll expect for today, there must be something to explain. There has been, for example, there is the housing project. One of the things I expect the head of state to do is to give us the breakdown of the housing project. How much came in? What has been used? Who has owned the houses? How far are we going? Because they are coming, we are donating. This money comes from us. And we are handing over this money to the government to build houses. We need the accountability, the auditing of the housing project, so that Kenyans are assured, yes, we are doing the right thing. Now we have these 50 houses. The 50 houses, number one, Kanga has a house, you have a house. Kanga should not have a house because that house was meant for Mama Mboga. How many Mama Mbogas have the houses now? And how much have we contributed? And it must be seen. The SHA issues, issues of SHA, there's a lot of narrative that is going on in the country. The head of state needs to clarify those narratives. The SHA money is being banked on a particular account. This is happening. That's what we expect the head of state. He's the father of the nation. So when he's standing, he should address those narratives so that we don't let those narratives mess up with the country. Because we can say we are doing well. The political class, we might be doing well. The religious class, we might be doing well. The intellectual class might be doing well. But what about these issues where Kenya, 85%, they say they are depressed and they are unhappy? What are you going to do?
Well, you've heard what the Doc has to say in regards to, of course, even the moral compass. And of course, we'll be also delving more into national unity as well. But I'm looking at what Doc has mentioned in regards to also, as part of the clergy, they would want these answers. And also, you know, the $1 trillion question is that we have a 12 trillion debt, 12 trillion Kenya shillings debt. You being an infrastructure engineer, and you have seen some of these projects, being affordable project being one of those infrastructure projects. We've seen roads. I would like you to point out some of the things that you would want the president to come out strongly and explain to Kenyans in regards to infrastructure. We've seen infrastructure development, but of course, a lot could be done in regards to that as well.
Thank you, Troy, once again for that question in regards to government involvement in the infrastructure development. Government usually have their budget for any fiscal year, and you realize the infrastructure takes a big chunk of that. And therefore, even in terms of expenditure, that is the portion that will take a bigger proportion of the budget. But the question is, the financing of this particular infrastructure becomes a big question that we have privately through the ones that are being actually financed through PPP. There are those that government does through the exchequer. So my way of looking at it and expectation from the speech from the president is to highlight, based on the previous year's address, that there are areas that were raised, and these were areas to dealing with roads. Yeah, that the infrastructure expansion of the roads. You realize that roads are the main enhancer or a catalyst, and what catalyzes the development within the rural areas and even in urban areas. The mobility of both goods and services depends actually on the connectivity. So the infrastructures that we are coming up with and the government is planning to initiate must actually come out clear in terms of numbers, that is the cost, in terms of the engagement of the consultants and the professionals that are going to, firms that are going to be engaged in this, and how the policies are going to put into place to safeguard the interest of this nation as professionals, and also the personnel and materials that are being used, because that needs to come out clearly so that we are sure that our own, that is the citizens of this nation, are able to get jobs outside of these investments or project initiatives that the government is coming up with. In road sector, we have the energy sector, where we've had so much happening with you know, the
REDEC.
Yes, that's just an agency, one of the agencies. But we have the nuclear, you know, the nuclear infrastructure coming up in this country. We had the wind power. We also have the hydro dams that are being built. We need to see the numbers, where are they, and how are they going to be implemented, so that most important is to ensure that the taxpayers are supposed to be safeguarded, such that Kenyans are supposed to be engaged in these particular initiatives to ensure that we keep in, we economically empower the Kenyans. We have the housing sector that you've mentioned, actually taken from the, you know, the housing fund. Yes. So in this case now we've seen so many of these projects coming up, and the layout in terms of how they are going to be distributed to the citizens. That is, you know, a framework that needs to come out clear. We also have probably giving feedback to the citizens in terms of expenditure. This is what we have collected, and this is now this is where we are headed, and actually what we have used or dispensed in our development is this amount. So when that one comes, it's just like you know, reporting back to the people of Kenya on the performance of the government in that regard. When it comes to, you know, to the airports, the president has been talking about the second terminal. Now, the details of that particular you know, infrastructure needs to come out to the public and how the executive intends to implement that particular project. Because it is clear that, yes, it's required. However, we need to understand how do you want to implement so that we cover or we ensure that we stop all leakages that may be there in terms of financial public funds being lost to individuals. And lastly, we know the future of the nation is future of a country, even globally, depends on the digital infrastructure. I would want to see that also come out in his speech, how we are trying to, to interconnect within the nation and also globally, and how young people can be able to be engaged in that initiative also. Railway lines here, we have the southern part, that is from Mombasa to Nairobi. We also have that serves the western part of Kenya.
Yes.
Now, how are these? Is this going to be part of the initiatives that are there? What are the negotiations that have been with we need to know the financial institutions that are coming in to support that. So when we talk about infrastructure, we can mention so many things because these are the real things that affect the common man. Health sector, infrastructure, leave alone the personnel, the infrastructure. Our hospitals, are they well furnished? Are they well, established in terms of the infrastructure, equipping them? Medicine. That needs to come out from his speech so that we can be able to understand that in actual sense there is some hope and there is a way that the government is going to handle some of these things going forward.
And mentioning hope, when I was preparing for this show, I can tell you that in many outlets, social media, in newspapers, on YouTube, people are not quite hopeful. And a lot of people are just talking about challenges that are affecting Kenyans. But Doc, I would like to pick your mind in regards to the infrastructure, because part of the reason our $1 trillion debt that we have, the 12 trillion Kenya shillings debt that we have, is because of infrastructure development. We have seen the head of state from one county to another launching projects in terms of dams, in terms of electricity. We have seen the head of state, he did commission the roads as well. I would like to pick your mind in regards to how the infrastructure development is vis-a-vis how much money we are spending as a country in infrastructure development.
We begin from where we have started.
Yes.
We say that 85% of Kenyans right now, they feel depressed and unhappy. Why are they unhappy? They are unhappy because they are saying they are not developing, but they are mark timing. They are running on the spot. Okay, there are a lot of things that we can say. We can say we have built this, we have built this, but Wanjiko is only comfortable if he can afford a plate of food on his table.
Yes.
The debt. Kenya has 12.6 trillion debt. That's the debt we have.
Yeah.
Now, today, as the head of state comes to address the nation, one of the issues that I expect him to say is to give us a receipt. There is no debt without a receipt. Because if you have a debt, the only way you'll make me be comfortable, you give me a receipt. On that receipt will tell me this was borrowed on this day, and it has a stamp for this, and so stamped, and Wajiko will be comfortable. The head of state has the mandate to give us a receipt.
Yes.
Through all the systems. Simple, give Wanjiko a receipt. Tell Wanjiko, we have 12.6 trillion, and here is the receipt. And we are going to pay all of us. We join hands and pay this debt because it means this money went in this direction, this one went in this direction, because the receipt will say, engineer took this, I took this, and this is why we are.
Yes.
Then that will kill all the narratives. But so long as we go around and tell Kenyans, we have this debt we are paying, and our children are going to pay, and we cannot see a receipt, we create a lot of narratives that are against the system, the ruling system right now, because we are not willing to talk about receipts. We are talking about just the debt and spend, the debt and spend. Bring the issue of the receipt, the receipt in that narratives, then we are comfortable. So the president should address himself to this issue. The other thing that is all the issue is the issue of IBC. IBC, because they are now independent, right now, Kenyans are unhappy. 85% they are unhappy with the way things are going. They should be given permission to recall their MPs. If they are not happy about the MPs, let them be recalled. But let IBC not be seen to be protecting specific individuals. For example, if Kenyans come and say, we have collected all our our signatures, and we want to call Dr. Kanga back, let them say, oh, it's your MPS, call him. Let's not be seen as if we are partisan and as if we are, okay? And we as the church, we also, somebody should not tell us not to be partisan. We are partisan in the area of truth and justice. The church is partisan to all what's happening in the community, in the area of truth and justice. So don't tell us, you know, you the church stay away. We cannot stay away because we are part of the community. These are our children. We are part of the system. The same members come and sit with us. When we talk of 30,000 dying every month, what's happening here? The issue is they are dying and we are burying them. They are our daughters and sons. Yeah. And on this issue of mental health, we have great professionals. Dr. Twali at the Aga Khan University, if we make use of it and spend money on this kind of people, they'll give us a way forward just like this. Yeah. But how are we spending our money? If we don't concentrate on the issue of mental health right now, it is going to be a big issue tomorrow. It's Nijanga, the inchi.
Yes, and let me pick from where Doc has mentioned, and he has talked about, if at all we are having a conversation on the national debt, we need that receipt. I'll take you back to after the Gen Z protest last year. I do remember the president issued a statement saying that in the next 90 days, we will have an audit of the national debt. If you remember, engineer, we'll have an audit of the national debt, and so that we may know exactly how much we have got, we are in debt, because the World Bank and also the IMF, they are pointing fingers at Kenya in regards to our debt crisis. And the president said in 90 days, we'll have a debt audit and know exactly what we borrowed vis-a-vis what we are getting in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the projects themselves. Would you like the president to reopen that and give us a clarity in regards to our national debt?
Thank you, Troy. This has been an issue that has been sitting with the president, and it's a hot one. I know of a task force that the president appointed to carry out this duty. However, it's also in court. That one of the citizens went to court to challenge the appointment of this task force to carry out the audit. And I think this is one area that the president needs to come in handy at this point to clarify to the nation where we are, the remedies that have been done from 2022 to date, and also the plan on the way out in terms of where we are headed. At what point are we going now to terminate, like to have a closure to the debts that we are having? And if they are recurring, then we need to also have frameworks in terms of additional debts. If you have to go in, you need to engage the citizens and the nation and the instruments that we have to ensure that the debts that we are getting into, any further debt, is justifiable. It's not just a boardroom decision, which just comes from anywhere. But it must be justified technically, financially, socially, because it must make sense to the nation. That is the only way we can be able to handle that. However, the current running debts must be picked, and we must know where they are. And I believe this is the opportunity for the president to just give the nation the position where we are. It is any policy that has been made in this country in terms of maybe finance policy has actually borrowed so much to ensure that we are taking this, that it goes into the repayment of debts. We've had projects stalling because money has been diverted towards repayment of the debts. So I think the president has an opportunity to at least give feedback to the nation on the position of the debts that we are having, and where possible, I think out of court settlement should be, should be there just to resolve this issue of the appointment of the task force members, and also to ensure that the objective of the task force members is clear, such that when they come out with a clear mandate that the nation will be able to know the outcome of this exercise.
And I like how Doc put it, that we need that receipt of
Yes.
the 12 trillion, how much you've gotten, how much has ended up in some Kenyans' pockets.
Yes.
But Doc, I'm also looking at the president being a symbol of national peace and cohesion in the country. And as NCCK, I do remember that presser where you warned about the increasing political incitement and early campaigns just before 2027. Now we have the by-elections, and we have issues in Embu County. We were having issues in Kasipul. And the church, you have mentioned that in as much as we have almost 2 years, just a year and a couple of months to the general election, but the political temperature seems to be a little bit on the red, as opposed to, the by-elections that we are used to.
Yeah, this has been an issue to all of us, and it's coming from Wanjiku on the ground, Wanjiku in the church. Wanjiku is asking this question, please. We have 2 years to get to general election 2027. We are spending a lot of resources here in the name of election. Where are these resources coming from? These early campaigns, are they not denying us time for development? Are they not denying us time to think about hospital growth, education? Now, here are the primary school teachers. They are now those teachers, they are now on the ground. They are talking about being paid 17,000 a month. Now, here we are campaigning. Campaign requires money. Can we save that money and use it for the development of the community? And then structure a way that we are going to deal with it. That's why we said even the leadership, the political class, they need also to save us from these problems. For example, the question on the ground is, there is money that's being given in different directions of the country in the name of development. We want to develop. They are being given to women groups. They are given. Where is this money coming from? That's why Wanjiku will ask, please give us a receipt. Is this money part of the 17 trillion? The trillion that we have,
12 trillion.
the 12 trillion. Is this money part of that?
Yes.
Or where are we getting this money to dish everywhere? Right now, we have our senior most officers, political officers and the government officers. They are camped in different dimensions. Some are camped in Mbere, some are camped in Malava, some are camped in Kaspul.
Yeah.
And now they are spending money. Now, as they are spending that money, here are the teachers who are saying, please just give us what we can to afford housing.
Yes.
Give us just money to afford to take our children to school in January. Those kind of things confuse us. That's why we are saying, is it possible for you to relax, put a pause on campaign, and then concentrate on development, so that we can even give the president himself time to operate, so the president will not be firefighting, trying to cool that fire.
Yeah.
I not understand why there is a lot of drama in Mbere. I will not understand why somebody who has never walked on foot, I see him walking on foot in different houses, in mud houses, to poor people, and yet he has gone there with a chopper. Wanjiku is depressed.
Yeah.
The lady you are going to visit there, she lives in a mud house, but you are fleeing there in a chopper. That fuel alone would have built 10 houses for such a people. But here you are only asking for a vote so that you can get that money.
Yeah.
Please, let's be accountable to Wanjiku. Let's be accountable to these people. Again, the issue of the receipt is just that accountability. Tell Wanjiku, you are giving me 5 shillings. These 5 shillings, I've used it that way, so that Wanjiku will stop creating those narratives. Because Wanjiku will depend on what different political class narratives that will come from there.
Yeah.
Because the opposition will bring this narrative, and the government will bring this narrative. Wanjiku will pick what makes sense to her.
Yeah.
But if we have a receipt, Wanjiku will not question. You just don't, this is what it is. But for sure, early campaign, I don't think that's the way to go. Because imagine we start campaigning today up to 2027.
Yeah.
And we have this money we call development funds. Again, we need to know where this money is coming from. Because really, is it people's payment? Is it individuals' payment? Is it individual salary that they are contributing to go and give it out? Or it's part of the taxpayers' money? That also frustrates. And I think the head of state should address this kind of a thing.
Yeah.
A day like today and tell us, well, we have had a lot of money. I've sent officers in different parts of the country, and they are giving out money for development of Wanjiku.
Yeah.
And this money we are getting from
This place.
that narrative goes.
Yeah. Engineer, the doc is bringing a very interesting twist to that, in as much as we are also, the president is a symbol of national unity. NCCK had raised concerns in regards to early politicking. You're a politician as well. And I'm looking at what doc is talking about in regards to some of these things that we are seeing. I think the optics themselves sometimes don't look very well. You're talking about somebody coming with a chopper only share a cup of tea with somebody in a madhouse. We are campaigning a lot, we are politicking a lot, and unfortunately, this is also derailing a development. I'm looking at also empowerment programs, so we also need to know exactly where this money is coming from, and we also need a follow-up of, indeed, we have already empowered you, so we have maybe in 6 months or in 3 months, we take stock of what is happening. The early campaignings, and it has really come out very strongly in these by-elections, and more specifically, two constituencies that are being mentioned is Mbere North and also in Kasipul. We are seeing even CSs who, according to the constitution, should not be campaigning. You know, yes. Campaigning for what analysts would say government-sponsored candidates as well. I would like to pick your mind in regards to that.
Sure.
The president should address that as well, to cool the political temperatures that are currently simmering.
Yes. Thank you, Troy. Very unfortunate and scenario we are seeing in the by-elections, and I think we tackle this as a people of this nation. I want to start from the point where we say, government is a facilitator. Government should not be the final service provider to the Wanjiku. They should be able to give, a position in terms of enabling the nation to do business and also to function. But when you come to early campaigns, you will see what they're actually talking about. They are talking about an agenda that is supposed to be actually the government function. Some of them promising those kinds of things. But the question is, even without the campaign, do we still need roads? Yes, we still need roads. Do we need hospitals? Yes, we need the hospitals. And we need power, we need all these other things to ensure that the citizens can be able to do business effectively. But we see now even the government agencies and the government representatives going to the ground for the purposes of their responsibility, whatever they're supposed to be doing, going to sell the same services to the electorates, especially for these particular by-elections. That tells you that they are going against the constitution that we passed in 2010. And therefore, I think based on today's State of the Nation address, the president should be able to come out strongly and advise the state officers just to move out of the ground, to allow the delegate, those who are, vying there, to be on the ground and talk to the people themselves directly without interfering. And I think these early campaigns also bring so much tension to this nation. We've had people dying in some of these, constituencies where we are doing the by-election. And if we avoid the rigorous campaigns that are ongoing, then there'll be calm, in these particular sections and in the nation at large. And this will lead now to people refocusing their energy towards, economical, being productive in terms of economics. And ensuring that at least there is some business going on. Because when there is peace and business are going on, government gets even, taxes and whatever, then you can be able to generate more money. So when we look at the bigger picture, then we can actually avoid this kind of, we confine early campaigns to a given period within which, when we are having our general elections or where we have a scenario of the by-elections happening, we limit it to those zones and we get off the government officials from the campaigns. Yeah, it is unfortunate that, the highest level office is on the ground, working in some constituencies to campaign for individuals. That is a very wrong way of looking at things when things that needs to be dealt with are really suffering. Dons were just in the streets the other day for 3 months. Doctors have been out here. JSS is now coming out to that we are mentioning. Nobody's handling this. And it's going to be, again, another menace. In next year, we are talking about this, next year we are having junior the first cohort going into you know, the senior school, what are the preparations that are there? These are the things we should be able to focus on, so that we have our children moving into senior school with proper infrastructure, teachers engaged, you know, and we have a proper management for these particular children, because this is the first cohort. I want that to come out in the address today.
Yes. Dr. Kanga, I'm looking at human rights and freedom now, and as enshrined in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and looking at the human rights record the country has had since, especially, let's just focus on last year and this year. And I would like to pick your mind in regards to the balance of security and freedoms as well. We've seen cases of abductions. Last year we had the same issue. This year we had the same issues as well. And even human rights defenders and even some of the United Nations Human Rights Commission have raised issues in regards to the human rights violations in the country, be it's because somebody has expressed his views, and we also we were introduced with there's a new law now, there's a cyber, which would more or less curtail some of our freedoms, if not watched.
I think on a number of these issues, before I answer your question, Troy, there is the issue of the campaigns. One of the things I'll prefer the head of state to address is the narratives that are coming up from the field. Oh, you don't need to register because the election have already been rigged. You see, those kind of narratives, they come up when there is no proper information coming out to Mwananchi. And we need to make it clear that the normal Wanjiku should not be hindered by the narratives like elections have been rigged and who has rigged the election. We all need to make election a simple thing, a system we use to organize government. And when we finish, but when you begin with these narratives, like what's going on in those sides, oh, election has already been rigged, oh, some people are coming now to do this, others are, those are narratives that are created by political class because the end justifies the means. So we need to know how to deal with this political class that creates some shady narratives just to confuse people. For example, the registration of voters. The registration of voters should be so clear. It is open, and IEBC should just come up and clarify everything. Don't take it somewhere else. IEBC is an independent commission. When people ask questions like, oh, you know, why are you scanning irises? Why are you scanning our eyes? IEBC should be able to come up through their professional way and explain to Kenyans it's because of this and this. Is it optional or is a must? Of course, the Constitution says it's optional. If it's optional, then don't concentrate on that. Just tell Kenyans it's optional, because the youth are so mad about it. The youth don't like that issue of taking arrests because there are different narratives that are coming up in the public because of this. And we as elders, what we need is just to be given information. Those are the things, if the president is not addressing them today, he needs to give some instructions so that those narratives will cool the temperatures down so that we can move on as a nation. Now, the issue of the human rights issue. Again, human rights issue, part of them are narratives, part of it are concept, perceptions, and we need to develop systems where Kenyans are given different narratives and perceptions. The human rights becomes a big issue when the information is not flowing well. Because if something has happened, people need information immediately. Like now, the human rights issue in our neighboring country. The human rights in our neighboring country, what we needed is our people just to come, the Minister of Foreign Affairs to come and tell us, this is what's happening, we are on top of it. This is what's happening, we are on top of it. And then people will trust the systems and say, our system is working. Okay, has there been abduction? Yes. Those abductions, have they been clarified? If somebody is abducted, and that somebody is not just a number, it's an individual, it's somebody's daughter, somebody's son, and then you take that as a joke, it's so painful. Because when somebody is crying, a mother is burying the son, and then you say nothing has happened. I mean, we also need to be very careful. And that's when human rights comes in, and we need is something wrong with our system. There is something wrong with our value system, with our ethical vibes. There are no rights without value system and ethical rights in our mind and our operation. What brings problem here? We know there are human rights are there. Do we say that the police should also now just stay and do nothing when there is a problem? No. The police need to do their work as per the laws of Kenya. But when something has gone wrong, there must be communication quickly. And this communication should come as clear and openly and truth. Share with us, even from the religious perspective. Don't leave us in the dark, then we get the narrative from the air, and then we throw it in the air, then you find the whole system. We spend a lot of money controlling those narratives. Yeah. But is there abduction? Abduction is evil. Abduction is not right to any nation. There is no country that abducts her own people and that country expect to move on. No. The citizen will always wake up against that country. And so even if you do it, if you are not part of if the system has not sent you to do the abduction, and then you do it because of status quo or because of the end justifies the means, you need to know that you are doing wrong. You can't abduct a human being. Imagine that's your mother.
There's something that the president should come out very clear.
Clear and say, no, I don't support this. And if this happens, will be done that. Yeah. But also the handlers of the head of state, they need to be very clear so that they give the head of state the right information so that he address it rightly in the right direction. So that Kenyans will not be frustrated and depressed and start blaming the system. Okay. There's nothing wrong like to live in a house where you don't trust your parents. That house can be dangerous. You can do anything. Like the children, if the children live in this country, we told the youth the other day, please youth, do not think about going on the streets. Come and occupy the church. Yeah. When you occupy the church, we'll work together with you.
Okay.
Don't occupy outside, just come and occupy the church where we are. Yeah. Because you need to trust us. And we as citizens, we also need to trust the ruling system. But the ruling system must also prove that they are individuals that we can trust. Because if they are cheating, we'll tell them off.
Okay. Okay, and we'll be talking about more in regards to human rights and also a number of issues, including foreign policy. But let's take a quick break. You're watching the State of the Nation. And of course, we are expecting the head of state at about 2:30 to address a joint sitting of both houses, and it's an annual and constitutionally mandated exercise that we will be keeping our eyes peeled for. But let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
When the hills gave way in Marakwet, thousands were left with nothing. But together, we can help them rise again. Join KBC in the Restore Hope, Restore Earth campaign, Unity in Adversity. Together for Marakwet. Donate through paybill number 522533, account number 8036543, or drop foodstuffs and supplies at Marakwet County offices. Every shilling, every tree, every act of kindness counts. KBC, bringing Kenyans together.
The police come.
What was happening?
That is the thing I'm telling you now.
Continue.
Arey, Baba.
Between me and this guy, who come to thief there?
To thief what?
Kuipa mheshimiwa.
To steal.
Yes, ndio hiyo mheshimiwa.
Sasa thief ni nini? Thief ni mwizi.
Danganyana na murongo yako. Mimi sikujui.
Mistaken identity.
Mistaken identity. Hakuna mtu anafanana na wewe hii dunia wala.
Come on. Wewe wapi uliona kopro ambaye ana trade?
Trade wapi?
Trade.
Anasema hii.
Trade. Kama wewe.
Huyu mama ana kierere sana.
Singependa kwa
hata sijui nianzie wapi.
Ile glass mimi nilibadilisha. Kwa hiyo hakuna wasiwasi wowote.
Hivi ulibadilisha?
Mimi nataka ufiate huo mdomo wako. Subutu nikasikia neno kwa mtu yeyote.
Nikwambie nini? Mimi sikujua lolote. Sikujua lolote hawa.
Nawe nadhani ulifaa kulala hapa jana.
Ndiyo, lakini...
Lakini nini? Ulilala wapi wewe? Nilidhani ulisikia.
Auntie, please nifungulie gate niende.
Nani amekuchokoza niende ni deal na yeye sahi?
Heri wazazi wangu wangekuwa walevi na wanipe.
Failures. Mtapata shida hapa mpaka mtamani kifo. Nisho mushukulu wenyu Andrea. Shigwa ya university. Shiru shikadusha mno. Hideaway.
Moja. Get ready to feel the rush of the open road. From 19th till 23rd November, the African Road Cycling Championships come to Kwale County. Watch Africa's fastest cyclists from all over the continent battle it out on Kenya's stunning coast. Be there to cheer the champions or catch every thrilling moment live on TV. Don't miss it. The African Road Cycling Championships from 19th till 23rd November in Kwale County.
Welcome back to this special edition of State of the Nation that we do expect the President to be addressing the nation and will be in Parliament, where he will be holding a joint session of both houses, and Kenyans from all walks of life right here and even beyond will be keeping our eyes keen on our screens just to know exactly the plans that the President has had and even take stock of what exactly has been going on for the last 1 year. Remember, it is constitutionally constituted, as Article 132 stipulates, that the head of state will give an annual address to the nation and give us the state of affairs in the country. And now, earlier on, just in case you joined us, I'm joined by three gentlemen. We have Engineer Jackton Achieng here. We have Dr. Reverend Alphonse Kanga of NCCK, and now we are joined by Dr. Harun Isaac Hassan, who is a leadership and governance expert. Karibu sana, Doc.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. I apologize, I delayed a bit.
Yeah, okay, no problem. We have been looking at some of the things that we do expect the President to address today, and before we took the short quick break, we were looking at human rights, and Doc, you had mentioned in regards to that, but before we give Dr. Hassan 2 minutes to compose himself, Engineer, the human rights record in regards especially to what has happened in the last 1 year, we've had cases of abductions both last year and this year, and we have also had concerns in regards to human rights violation. Case in point is the newly passed and signed into law the Cyber Crimes Act, which a number of people have argued that it curtails some of the basic fundamental rights as enshrined in the Constitution.
Oh, thank you, Troy. Once again, when it comes to human rights and fundamental requirements and and operations, you realize that in government or any institutional agency, what usually happens is that when you get feedback, negative or positive, it should be able to help you towards improving on what you are doing. And when we look at the functions of the human rights, the human rights individuals or experts, you realize that they always point out to areas where the government or institutions go outside of the law. And when that is raised, it's a better way for the sitting government to look introspect actually and ask themselves several questions. What then do we need to do if they have the interest of the people? What do we need to do to help the people, or so that they can be able to be uplifted? So such cases, of abductions that we are mentioning here, they are only meant to intimidate, so that you can be able to shut and not to speak. And therefore, you will not have an opportunity to give feedback to the government, or to have, proper control in terms of what may be happening in the dark. So there are some laws that probably that you are talking about, the cybersecurity, computer use and cybersecurity. These are laws. They could be good, but such laws needs to be extremely clear on the extent of crime when you post something. It's not a matter of like Engineer Mwembe has posted an article or something online, then, if it's not defined in law, then it can be picked as going against, the policies that we are having. And this calls for independent bodies. I think also Dr. had mentioned this, that the judiciary now needs to come out and clarify some of these things so that they are clear, so that decisions that are being made out of them are clear and you cannot question anything out of that. So I look at it as policies that are good for the government, and they must also be good for the people, so that implementation becomes easy and clearer, so that there's no intimidation, and the public can be able to know the extent to which they can be able now to engage with the public and also with the government institutions.
Yes.
And
interesting way of putting it, and in as much as we are talking about it being a law, it should be very clear in regards to when does the free domain ends. That's the freedom.
Exactly.
Doc, I'm looking at the cost of living, and I think it's the right time to touch on the cost of living, because it's touching on everyone. I remember yesterday we were speaking with one of my producers, and he was telling me that sometimes some things run out in your house and you just continue without them. And it's something that you've been using over and over and over again. When it comes to fueling vehicles, you find that if you are using your vehicle every day, you find some people now have to, step back and maybe do 3 or 4 times a week. Let's go to the food on the table. Some people can't actually afford, and there's a lot of Kenyans who cannot afford a decent 3-course meal in a day. And the head of state, this is something that he should be touching. Question is, what short-term and even long-term fiscal tools should the President Ruto prioritize that will not even lead us to more debt?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I think my colleagues have talked about the issue of human rights. I just wanted to mention one thing before I move into the cost of living.
Yes.
And that is, you realize in our context, human right is completely different from the context of the people we borrowed from. Because human right came from Western world. We did had actually our human right way of doing things. So African culture had its own merit and demerits in dispensing human rights within the society. That has been modernized and started borrowing a different culture. That has given us or exposed us to something that is more concrete and not able to comprehend by ordinary people. For example, you realize that the human right as per our laws is both from the human right enforcers, that's the frameworks that are in place, and the people themselves. Now, the concept of the framework that the people who are supposed to ensure human right violations are not in the country, are not practiced, those ones are the ones we always look into. We don't look at the other side. Imagine reverends wake up in the morning and he's found with a shape of a woman down here, and it is his head who is there. Do you know how traumatizing for him and the rest of the people who know him and the people who follow him? That is the things that the government probably were looking into. The fact that you infringe the right of another person without apology, that is the things that is the Cybercrime Act actually concentrate on. the fact that our children have freedom to access pornographies and some other lesbianism and gayism in the media, which we are telling them they shouldn't. We talk to them, but someone else has opened the window for them. So those are the things that actually Kenyans need to look at, because those will going to traumatize, those will going to damage the future generation, not the people who understand what is right and wrong now, but those ones who are on the other side are the ones who will eventually normalize those things in their life in future, and the society will be lost. Basically, that is what it means. People will like fighting on the other side. The usual thing that people post when there is demonstration and those other things, it's beyond that. It's a bigger thing. So I think that's how we should view the human right in the context of our society. When it comes to the issue of the cost of living, we know very well from the onset of the time when the government has taken drastic strategies in curbing the cost of living to a lower rate where people could live and are able to find for themselves, is that the government looked into the area of the farmers, the producers. And that has actually worked, because recently I drove from here up to Kisumu, and I saw, unlike before where people would love to purchase products from outside or neighboring country or Comesa, people have gone back to their farms. We saw a lot of farms along Maimayu, Narok, up to Kisumu Road. And what are they producing? Not cash crops, they are food crops they are producing. You see a lot of maize, a lot of beans, a lot of ungangano on those farms. So that, I think, must have worked. But the challenge comes, the issue of the shilling versus the issue of things which come out of the country. You know, whenever we buy things from outside, we give out hard currency. When we are giving out hard currency subsidizes our own money, because the value of our money and the hard currency is higher. So we are discharging more money outside than actually within the country. And that's why you see there is minimal cash flow within the country as of now, because people are saying, hey, siku hizi pesa imeenda wapi? Kwani president amefungia pesa? No, that is not the case. We want to make and produce our own things internally so that we do the purchase within the country and the money circulates within. What currently is going on is that those who have money sends off this money outside the country and they bring products, goods and services. Now, when you bring things from outside there and the money is already gone, where do you expect to get money to do trade and purchase all those commodities on the ground? So there are quite a number of complexity in the way we are managing our cost of living. However, the issue of fertilizers, which I know many Kenyans have talked about it, and quite a number of times the president also mentioned it, and many other people who want to advocate for the good things that the government has done, will always not miss to mention the fertilizers, subsidized fertilizers. The fuel, I think you have seen the fuel has stabilized for a long period. It's going down slightly, coming down every other month.
But Kenyans would argue, Doc, in as much as the fuel prices have been stable for the last couple of months, is that they are on the higher side. Actually, if you look at the region, fuel is one of the most expensive. Bearing in mind the landing cost in Mombasa is about 80 shillings.
Yes, absolutely, you are right. We do have a challenge comparatively to other neighboring countries. You know, taxation in country and taxation in other countries are not comparative. For example, Tanzania's tax is minimal on fuel, whereas our tax is very high. On we pay road levy. That
there
is
are
still
around 8
going.
charges.
There are around 8 charges, and
levies,
if you actually look at the way they are distributed, meaning those are all taxes, but they're given different names. But again, let me ask one thing. Are the roads being maintained? Are we getting the result of those hard taxations that we are getting, are we getting results out of it? For example, there are quite a number of roads that are under construction, particularly us from northern region. You know, I always tell people, there is no government better than this one that ever has come into this country, which has given us an olive branch in improving our infrastructure. Because 63 down the line, the road from Mandera to Nairobi is rough road. That is why you find many of our businessmen come to Nairobi to do business, because accessibility of that locality or that region has become impossible. When they constructed the road between Nairobi and Garissa, Garissa became a big city. Actually, you cannot compare Garissa to Mombasa. It's bigger in terms of development and in terms of population coverage. Go to Wajir and Mandera, the population is running away. We are part of the people who ran away from there and live here in Nairobi, simply because we cannot access our homeland. If I have an emergency now, if I don't take an aircraft, then I'll take 3 days to get home. So that is no longer an emergency. Emergency is the timing response that one will have. Therefore, my thinking is that as much as the fuel cost is high, I think we are seeing there are quite a number of infrastructure that is being improved along all quarters. I mean, all the region. If you go through the country, and you will find everywhere there are construction going on. And you see the president every other time mentioning that we must do 3 things. 1, we must improve on infrastructure. We must supply electricity, and every household must get electricity. And we must have food on the table, which is, in essence, factored under the subsidized product. Now, but Kenyans, my only thing that I should tell Kenyans is that Kenyans of late are quite focused on employment, through the one we usually call the white collar employment or outside employment. Actually, you could do a lot in this country and create your own empire and become one of the person who will be contributing to this nation in a very productive way.
Okay. Still on the cost of living, I would like to pick the minds of all of you in regards to the cost of living. And Doc did mention something that is very true, that indeed agriculture has improved, because we are looking at the subsidized fertilizer program. If we look at our maize reserves, they've kind of gone a little bit higher than it was 2-3 years. But families and households are struggling to put 3 meals per day on the table. And this is something that identifies with Kenyans. This is something the head of state should be addressing. What should be the remedy, and especially when he's talking to the country, to ensure that we don't sink further into debt and we don't add to the layer of taxes that we are seeing on basic products?
I want to begin from where we started before he came. We said that we have done utafiti, the research that was done recently with us, and partisan research. By the way, let's not say we are not partisan. I said before he came, we don't tell us as a church to be non-partisan. We are partisan in the area of peace and truth.
Absolutely.
So we are partisan. In the area of peace and truth, we are partisan what's happening in the nation. So the research that we did recently is so clear that 85% of Kenyans are depressed and unhappy. And not only that, 75% they say, you political class, you're not doing very well. And when it comes to election, you go home. And where this idea is coming from is from the idea of what he's saying, human rights. Where we are as Kenyans, Kenyans are far much ahead from our neighbors. You don't lecture Kenyans what human rights are. Kenyans, when you talk about human rights, simple. They'll come and tell you, Constitution 2010, Article 10(2), it outlines justice is our foundation. And within that, there is integrity. Within that, there is transparency. Within that, there is accountability. So if you stick, and then out of that, there is chapter 6. So when you hear there is human rights somewhere, we are fighting about abduction. Abduction is because somebody is trying to cover something so that he does what he will not talk about it. Abduction is simply somebody who's trying to live in an evil style, and he doesn't want you to talk about it, so that you can go ahead and avoid what is clear in the Constitution. So how do we deal with this? We deal with this when there is justice and truth. Food.
Before the Reverend goes away from that point, you know, there's one thing I wanted to ask Reverend in terms of, you know, justice. You know, there are institutions that have been put in place to make sure that those justice system within our Constitution, it's good that you have quoted the Constitution, are laid down and they are doing they are expected to do their work. It is not the civilians who are supposed to, or the larger population who is supposed to do that. So institutions are where we have a problem. I think we need to focus there than looking at the bigger population and where people say, okay, I have been abducted. I mean, there are measures. You know, we do not know the reasons as to why someone is abducted because we don't know even the abductees. We are assuming that it is so-and-so who is abducting so-and-so. But there are measures. There are the courts. There are the, you know, the Human Rights Commission, which is an independent commission. We have the issue of...
There are 13.
There are 13 actually in number. We all understand, yeah. Can we focus on this? Why, what deliveries have they done from the time they were given their task, other than pointing out at individuals who probably we assume they have been in certain situation and then they come out. Your research is very good. I totally agree. But again, research, you know me as a researcher and as a don in the university, research is a very good thing that guides everything. It's a fact. And therefore, these are the things we need to drive ahead. You should drive ahead and say, these findings must find a place in shaping the society we are talking about. Go ahead,
but also in as much as we are so pointing fingers and everything, government has also been accused of abductions.
Absolutely.
And in some levels of some of these abductions, we have seen indeed it was government. Talking of the cases that where the courts have demanded somebody be produced in court, and all of a sudden when the deadline is there is the day that person, and that person indeed says I was abducted by the security forces. We have seen on social media, we've seen them being handled and bundled in vehicles. Doc, you can respond to that.
I agree. I want to agree with him, as we said before he came, that there is 13 constitutional commissions.
Yeah.
And what has depressed Kenyans is because those 13 constitutional commissions, and most of them, they have an I in the beginning, is that letter I. Are they independent? When they are not playing the independent part of it, and Kenyans can see, that's what makes Kenyans depressed. And that's why we should sit here and even ask ourselves, we have a debt of 12.6 trillion. Is this part of paying those commissions? If we have a debt of 12.6, and then there are human rights abuse are still going on, and those commissions are in place, do we really need them? Is it possible that we can do better? That's why we had 2010 constitution. So do we have a problem with the human rights? Yes, we have. Who to blame? Commissions.
Because we are on the same page.
Maybe I can also chip in, because I'm feeling we are scratching this thing on the surface. The question is, why do we need the commissions? Commissions are formed because there's a problem.
Yes.
Why is the source of this problem? That's the core issue that we need to deal with. If we have abductions happening, there is a commission that has been formed in terms of to handle such kind of issues. Then the problem is not the commission from where I sit. The problem is the society.
Correct.
The problem is the society and also the government institutions, if there are those that are propagating, you know, abductions. Then we need now to sit down and ask ourselves, where is the integrity and where are the morals in the society? It goes back to now the points that we are talking about, the issues that deals with unemployment. You see, if you engage your citizens and they are earning, they will be able to run their life and now deal with the issues of cost of living. If we have idle citizens, we will have crime rate going up, we'll have several bad things happening, and therefore the commissions are formed. They are good for a country to enable the country to, to manage the morals of the society and what happens around us. But we need to come down to the fundamental issues, which includes employment. We need our people to get employed. And when they're employed, they're engaged. They'll be able to deal with the issues of the cost of living. If it's movement, they'll be able to move from one place to the other. If it is business, I would be able to bring my tomato from the remotest part of this country without them going bad to the markets. These are the things we are looking at. Do we have storage facilities within the remotest part of the country where they can preserve some of the perishable commodities? Business is key. When citizens are engaged, we can be able to ensure that the crime rate will come down. Even the depression will come down because there will be money in circulation.
And Troy, one of the things the head of state should address today is the narrative on the ground of this, what we call human trafficking. Human trafficking is a top issue on the ground right now. And these different narratives are now in the field. Who is doing this? Who is doing this? Why do you have this human trafficking? It's because simple food is the issue of
basic
food,
needs.
Basic needs. That's why you'll find people being abused in Dubai, our children being abused in the foreign countries, not because of anything, but because of basic food. And so the question is for today. Anybody found trafficking and doing slave trade, that issue should be dealt clearly, and I hope the head of state should touch on that. And because it's the symbol of unity, and there is an outcry all over that Kenyans are being trafficked in different countries, they need to find out who is doing it. Why is it doing it? Of course we know. It's because of we have not put our
and Doc,
system
we will
in
be
place.
looking at the foreign policy the country has adopted and some of the hurdles that we have we have met along our way in terms of foreign policy, because we have a number of issues that are still pending in regards of how we align ourselves, how we treat other people in this country, and how our Kenyans are being treated. It's a good thing you guys have mentioned the cases, and especially of the Middle East. And also we have had Kenyans being abducted by our neighbors in Uganda and Tanzania, and the presidents have also noted that and said, yes, indeed. A practical example is the Ugandan president who said, yes, indeed, I was the one who was having these guys. We'll be looking at the foreign policy. So that
no, I think, Troy, one thing
we'll be looking at that.
I know.
But I wanted us to look at
I know.
Yes,
I think one thing just on the point that you have mentioned and Reverend has mentioned is the issue of slave trade, modern slave trade. But there's a question there. The government is propagating for that. The government is saying we'll look for employment outside the country. We will export our human capital. Now, it's okay to do that if it is done well, systematically, and it is documented. That is fine. But the issue is every other person who deals with the labor issues or employment outside the country issues, which is also defined as the modern slavery. I think it was on the newspaper. When was that? Yesterday or the day before yesterday. The modern slavery, I think it's something that the government needs to rethink again and say, okay, we thought this was an avenue we are opening for our people. But again, it has come with a backlash. The backlash is that when they get there, then they get into a complex situation where they are now modern way of slavery. They are actually enslaved. I saw many, we see a lot of people crying inside the social media talking about this. There's a lady every night, she works in Middle East, and she has nicknamed her employer Waititu. And I'm sure you guys, those of us, I don't know if Reverend is familiar with TikTok, but that lady brings stories on every event of her life. Every day, whatever happens, she documents it. For me, as a professor of psychology, I see that is a way of seeking for help, because she thinks every other time that anytime her life is at risk. And that's why she's telling her story, everybody, so that she leaves some footprints of what she has gone through later when no one can speak for her after she cannot speak anymore. So those are things that needs to be looked into before we look into issues of exporting our labor capital.
Yeah, and the reason I said that we will be looking at it a little bit later on is because some of those people who are suffering in the Middle East, they didn't use the right channels to get there. So even the government doesn't even know those guys are there. But we'll be looking at that. But let's look at something that is quite an elephant in the country, that is corruption.
Oh.
And we've been fighting it for 60 plus years. And I'm looking at the concrete measures that you expect the president to recommend in his address. And also look at how effective, gentlemen, how effective, engineer, has digitization helped? I was paying for a relative at the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, and every cash you have to send, and I think it's in all government institutions now, you have to send that to e-citizen. The government has digitized, even when it comes to land matters, the process is still ongoing. And so how far has it been in promoting transparency, and where do they fall short? Because corruption is still there. Engineer.
Thank you, Ben Troy, for this question. You know, when we talk about the e-system, e-payment system that we are having in, I'll simply go straight into that concern. If you've paid through the system, e-citizen, you ask yourself, there is, if you're paying 1,000 shillings, there is another 50 shillings on top of it. Yep. The question is, where does that go? Is it a government revenue?
We are going back to the receipt that the doctor...
Exactly. Because these are key issues that we are dealing with. Number two, we also have a matter of who is behind the procurement of the e-citizen. Is it a Kenyan? Is it a foreigner? We need, these are things, these are things that needs to come out strongly, because where we have human interface, you will always find problems. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, the systems were interfered with, and I think there was a circular in that regard. So you ask yourself, these are systems that are supposed to be safeguarded by, by ourselves and our security systems. But you can find that there was an attempt. So it means we have e-payment systems, and they can be able to help us in terms of, consolidating funds into one coffer. However, do we have proper systems to prevent any loss that may come out of it? Because when it comes to counties, you've noted a number of counties also have lost money through the same e-payment system, where an e-payment system has got other systems where you pay and it goes to other accounts. And it has affected several agencies. So my take for this is that this is the best way, the way to go. However, we still need to have our security systems into place to ensure that there is no entry in terms of losses. And the people who are behind the, the development of even these particular softwares, what surety do we have as a nation that these are going to be people who are going to be honest and have high moral standards so that they cannot be compromised? Because that is one of the areas that as we are not clear on in terms of, the security and the protection of these particular systems that we are having. So for me, I look at it as the best, the best way to go. But we don't have, do we have that ability to ensure that we don't lose money, public money, to individuals through backdoor, when the systems are either hacked or they are compromised? Yes. So I just wanted to mention that, because that is just basically collecting of the money. The question I'm asking, we have pending bills in this country. Yes. Because this is just a collection point. But at the payment point, we have pending bills in this country. It's very unfortunate. One of our members actually committed suicide the other day in Kisumu, in one of the engineers. Reason is being claimed that he had debts that he had to pay, and the way you do your returns and all that. Systematic things. It was a very unfortunate situation. Now, how does the government again spend out of the e-payment, the e-system? Because we won't have things to do with the pending bills. If you know very well that somebody has offered a service to a government, then you know you have all the documentation, then the money had been allocated. That money should be able to be paid to the service provider through the same system without having an interface.
Yes.
Yeah. So as long as we still have the human interface in these systems, it's still compromised because it will be based on probably how do I know you? Exactly.
Doc, still on corruption, I'm looking at the revolving or the rotating doors at the Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC. And we have seen, ever since, let's say for the last year or so, we have seen governors, we have seen directors, we have seen a number of Kenyans be brought there because of corruption issues. And the government has decided to digitize not only land and also services, but still there are so many pilferages, there are so many holes that the money is still being drained. And you do remember the former head of state did mention that we're doing about 2 billion in corruption every day. There's something that the head of state should be addressing.
Yeah, I think recently I did an article in regards to the dark side of devolution. You know, when 2010 Constitution was enacted or inaugurated, Kenyans celebrated because there was a sign of self-rule at the periphery of every homestead. And people thought this will going to diffuse the pressures that Kenyans have gone through when it was generally managed from one central point. But that never to be. We have established 47 kingdoms, the historical kingdoms, where where you know the history of kingdoms. For those of us who have read history, you understand a king is always right. A king is always the rich one, and even the poor bring their products, their animals to them. So the king is always the wealthiest one. And definitely the 47 county governors are the wealthiest ones because they have shaped themselves, crafted themselves in a manner that they are the small kings or the so-called presidents of the counties. That is not what our constitution says. Misconception and taking out of proportion the constitution are things that are haunting us every day. Corruption is not an exception in other major institutions. Now, you mentioned a very critical thing. Why do we actually always cry of corruption and corruption doesn't stop? 3 things are happening. 1, first and foremost, we have normalized corruption. We as a society. Why? If we don't get something done, we pay for it. Nobody has asked you to pay for it. If you commit crime, you pay for it instead of going to court and facing justice. And I know there, justice will be dispensed if everything is in order. But the fear that justice might not be served because of corruption, then you do your own justice on the road.
Give us something.
Give us something. So 1 is us as a society. 2, do we have a safe haven to land? No. That is why we are subjected to this situation. The pressure that is pushing the ordinary society to free themselves on the spot, other than taking them to the justice system that is established, is one of the problems that Kenyans are struggling with in terms of corruption. Secondly, political block. Politicians in Kenya, unfortunately, are free from corruptions. Why? They do corrupt, they are corrupt, theirs is not defined as corruption. A civil servant or someone who is a police officer who is on the streets or someone, if they do something, they speak loud and they steal. They are told they have stolen or they have done, that's corruption. But them themselves, their acts. And an example is, if you are just getting your salary as a member of parliament and your allowances, which is ideally meant to service your day-to-day needs. You go to several gatherings every weekend. You pay money. Do we ask ourselves where does that money comes from? So the society receives a rotten money from a rotten hand. And therefore, partly even our religious quarters, they also receive anything that comes from politicians. The thing that has more blessings in the corridors of religiosity are the ones the ordinary person leaving his house and saying, I'm paying my sadaka here. But a politician coming to pay $1 million or 10 million, 5 million, he's not paying for the sadaka. He's paying for political influence. That is corruption. We are accepting it. Thirdly, is the institutions themselves. Are they, like the Reverend has said, are they independent? How many governors have been taken to that role? Many. Have you seen any outcome? No. We may suspect that actually money is being changed hand. Hey, you have looted, give us our part, we leave you. That could be something going on. Those are speculations. You may find probably a bigger office calling saying, we wachana na hiyo mtu. Or you may find that the system itself does not give them opportunity to package this particular person and move it to the other bridge. You know the other bridge? It's ODPP. So if you are sure that ODPP will going to do otherwise than what you have already packaged and prepared for the person to face court, then you lose hope. So basically, I know there's nothing ahead of me. So why should I actually do all that efforts? You don't care attitude aspect of enforcing the law also comes in. So these are things that are ravaging this nation of ours. The president must come out very clearly in his speech in regard to corruption. We don't want corruptions to be talked about because many people have talked about it. We want action and severe action. And if, like China, you do corruption and, you know, it is it's a capital offense. A capital offense. Yeah. So if we change our legal laws in regards to corruption, and we say anyone involved in corruption, there will be no bond. First, like you stay inside remand until your case is determined, and once you are proved that you have committed that crime, you are either sentenced for life or you're hanged. Kenyans will not go out and do any corruption. Workers of the government will never do corruption. Private sector will not engage themselves in corruption. And an individual Kenyan who is the source of the corruption will not going to commit that corruption.
Troy. Yes, you really need to mention corruption and also bring it out, because as part of the church, you have refused donations from politicians. It's a part of the clergy has refused and saying donations, harambees, we do not want that, because it's more or less bringing friction. And we have seen, just like Doc has mentioned, we have seen people convicted of corruption. And I can mention them. I can mention the likes of Obado, former Governor Obado, and also MP Waluke, who have been, a practical example, the Sirisia MP, Waluke, was convicted by the High Court and went to committee, but now he's a member of parliament. We don't know what exactly happened, and Kenyans want to see corruption being dealt with.
Troy, before Baba passed on, he had suggested that we have a conclave that was going to bring the nation together. And if that's going to happen with our brothers from the political class, then corruption should be an agenda, major agenda be discussed in that conclave. Because corruption in Kenya is mangisi, mangidu. Right now, we defend thievery and spread disinformation so that we can cover ourselves. Right now, the narrative in the public, what is making 85% of Kenyans depressed and unhappy, is the issue of SHA. Because the issue of SHA has never been clarified. Who owns SHA? Where do you bank SHA? Who is being paid for SHA? Because he has millions Mheshimiwa has millions in terms of insurance, and then there is that Wanjiku has nothing. But how is this millionaire going to be paid, and how is Wanjiku going to benefit? It's not clear. And so what do? We defend thievery, and then we spread this information just because the end justifies the means. And that's the biggest problem we have in the country as far as corruption is concerned. Well, corruption, even it started in heaven, but in heaven, the devil was thrown out when he started corruption. Corruption, you deal with it by throwing somebody out and then leave that kingdom. Until we come to that area, corruption is a big animal in the house. And we need to to accept chapter 6. So long as we don't deal with chapter 6, we are now talking about the election, the by-election in different places. Are we aware whether they have gone through chapter 6? Have they passed that interview? How come Sobando is still existing? How come these people go, the big fish goes and comes out of that game? It's because we are not willing to face corruption. So what are we supposed to do? We need to have a referendum, a conclave, as Baba suggested, and then discuss what, who, where, when. Then we deal with it all round. But for now, it's a big issue. But again, as we say today, is a State of the Nation address. The head of state need to mention that. At least tell us what has happened in this area. Where is SHA money? Who is benefiting from SHA? Who is being paid for? This millionaire, does he need really that SHA money? And is he benefiting? Those hospitals that we hear they were discontinued, were they really the only victim? Who was behind those victims? So that we don't just do, we defend thievery, spread this information, and then we go back to normal. Before that, it will be difficult to deal with any. Deal with us first. Again, where one of the areas where my mother came from, they say the fish started rotting from
the head.
The head. So, Mangsi, Mangdu, corruption is over. If Mangsi, what the Mang will see, that's what the Mang will do.
All right, and we are hoping indeed the president will address this corruption issue because it's become a menace. We even have deals, you know. You've stolen, engineer has stolen 200 million, you're told now you get a few pieces of land. You have already stolen and you've been convicted by a court of law. So I think the head of state really owes Kenyans that address to come out clearly and tell us exactly what we're doing. We have seen ESCC, a few parcels of land have been recovered, but more really needs to be done. And because of the interest of time,
Troy, I think the issue of corruption is, I know we are defining it superficially also, but the question I'm asking, do we have instruments in this country that can enable the judiciary to ensure that the laws that they are passing or the laws that they are implementing are clear in terms of proof of corruption, because that is lacking. We've seen cases going to courts, then they come out because of lack of evidence. Then where are we in that line in terms of the instruments that we are using? So if the president can be able to state how that can be able to be facilitated, then you enhance the judiciary, you ensure that the legal systems of this country, you enhance them so that we have the legal position of how to deal with corruption. And from there, somebody is taken to court, an individual, politician or not, it is clear on the way forward and the penalties are there, they are known, and the decisions that are made, the proclamations that are going to be made at the court are going to be clear to everybody. Then that is the only way to deal with corruption. But if you don't have those clear parameters that defines proof of corruption, then it will be quite difficult, and it's something that we'll have to deal with in a long time.
All right, so let me give you each 10 seconds each for your closing remarks because we need, but we're going to continue this conversation because we're expecting the head of state before he enters parliament, and after we're going to be looking at that. So Doc, beginning with you.
No, I think our expectation basically today is to talk about the expectation of Kenyans as the head of state give us his address. And I think a lot Kenyans are waiting. And much of those things that Kenyans are waiting are positive things. And then secondly, measures to curb corruption are the things that we will really want to hear. Kenyans are tired of corruptions being talked about over and over and over. We want action, solutions, and measures that will forever end corruption. I know it has become systemic, but systemic, as we in Medic we say, any systemic disease is difficult because systemic means it affects the whole system. Multiple system. We have the respiratory system, the nervous system, all those things. Yeah. So it has become systemic. It's not an easy thing to fight, but drastic measures needs to be put in place in order for us to have a clear plan for how Kenyans will become a free state of corruption.
All right, Doc, 10 seconds.
I pray for our brothers and sisters in Mbere, Malava, and Kaspo. They'll go and I'll ask them.
Reverend comes from Mbere because I'm seeing his.
It's because it's very charged. I can tell you that
they
for
should
a fact.
take leadership of themselves. Don't mind about this political class.
Yes.
They have their own interest.
Okay.
Without the end being justified, just what they means, don't mind about them. Do what you want as per your conscience.
All right, Jackton, just close it for us.
Thank you very much, Troy. I just want to mention, when the president comes out to speak, we want to hear an opportunity that is going to open up for the youths and to ensure that there is a bit of employment for the youth so that they can be able to have something in their hands and to be able to buy, to get the power, to purchase. And this, the government can achieve through several means. We've talked about agriculture here, but we are not talking about value addition, because that is one of the areas that from the primary production, you can go to secondary and tertiary production, and this will be able to support this country to move to another level economically. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Jackton Achieng Mwembe. Just next to me, we have Reverend Dr. Alphonse Kanga from the NCCK, and just next to him we have Dr. Harun Isaac Hassan, who is a leadership and governance expert. Gentlemen, thank you indeed so much for your time, but unfortunately our time has run out. But we will be having another conversation just before the president gets into Parliament and after his address. But for now, many thanks indeed for joining us. I'm Ben Troy Njue, and my colleague on the sign language interpreter has been Karon Joroge initially, and then we have Susan Anwangeshi. Thank you so much indeed.
A wide range of items we use in daily life are made from glass. This versatile substance is mostly made from resources extracted from the earth: silica sand for transparency and limestone for durability. Heated until they melt and then allowed to cool slowly, these materials can be shaped into glass products. It's a method that has been used unchanged for thousands of years and passed down to today. This glass manufacturer wanted to develop a method that would contribute to the goal of decarbonisation. They found a new raw material they could use: eggshells. Finely ground eggshells contain as much calcium carbonate as limestone. Limestone is a natural mineral. If we keep mining it, it will